she arrived in chains. The cold metal door creaked as it opened, breaking the silence inside the underground research lab. 4 armed guards stepped in. Between them walked a girl, an alien girl. Her arms were bound in glowing cuffs, and a thin collar blinked around her neck. She didn't resist. Her feet dragged slowly as if she was too weak to walk. Dr. Ian Cole watched from behind a glass window. He had studied alien life for more than 10 years, but he had never seen a species like this one. The girl was about 5 feet tall, slim, and covered in a strange, soft silver blue skin that shimmered like moonlight. Her hair looked like threads of glass. Her eyes, large, round, and glowing, stared at everything with quiet fear. "She was found in a crashed escape pod," said Captain Reese, the lead guard. "Orbit Patrol picked it up 3 days ago. No signs of others, no ID, just her. She doesn't match any known species," Ian said, eyes fixed on her. "Did she speak?" "Not a word. But the pod had symbols, bioorganic tech, possibly high-level AI." Ian's heartbeat grew faster. Something about the girl felt different, not dangerous, but not ordinary either. The guards placed her gently on a padded examination table. She didn't scream or fight, but as soon as the guards stepped back, her fingers twitched. The cuffs glowed brighter for a second, then dimmed again. Ian noticed it. "Did you see that?" "She's been doing that," the nurse whispered nervously. "Her body reacts to the cuffs, but only when humans are near." Ian walked closer. His breath fogged on the glass wall. The room was kept cold, near freezing, to match her body temperature. The moment he entered, he felt it. The air around her seemed thicker, like it carried an electric charge. He stood beside her. "Can you hear me?" he asked calmly. "Do you understand me?" The girl blinked slowly. Her chest moved up and down, showing she was breathing normally, but she didn't answer. Ian reached out and touched her wrist lightly. It was cool, almost icy, but then her skin responded. A faint glow ran along her veins, like lightning under her skin. He pulled his hand back, shocked. "She's not normal," he whispered to himself. "Her body reacts like it's alive in ways we don't understand." Suddenly, her head turned slightly. Her glowing eyes locked with Ian's. For a moment it felt like she was reading his thoughts, but then her eyes closed again, and her body went still. Later that night, Ian reviewed the data from the scan. Her organs were not in the usual places. Her blood cells were larger and carried not just oxygen, but something else. Something unknown. He zoomed into one scan image and saw what looked like thin, tentacle-like structures moving inside her chest, like something flowing around her heart. "She has internal structures we've never seen before," Ian said into his recorder. "Some parts of her body are moving on their own. Not just muscles, something deeper." He sat back in his chair. The lab lights flickered. Just then, the temperature sensor beeped. Her body temperature was rising, but no heat source was active. Ian rushed back to the chamber. Inside, the girl sat up. Her chains still held her hands, but she was no longer lying down. Her eyes were open and fixed on the camera, and she was humming. A soft, strange sound. It was not human music, but it echoed through the speakers, soft and high-pitched. Ian stared. "What is she doing?" The power flickered again. "She's affecting the equipment," the technician said, worried. "She's interfering with our systems." The humming stopped. The girl looked directly into the camera and whispered something. No one could hear it clearly, but when they played it back and increased the volume, the word became clear. It was a name. Ian. His heart stopped. Everyone in the control room turned to him. "She said your name," the nurse gasped. "But I never told her," he said, eyes wide. "I never said it to her." The screen showed the girl's face. She wasn't afraid anymore. She was watching. The pulse beneath her skin. The lab lights dimmed again. The backup generator kicked in with a low hum. Dr. Ian stood frozen, staring at the monitor. The alien girl was still watching the camera, her glowing eyes unblinking. She had whispered his name. And now she was calm, too calm. "She's learning," Ian said quietly. "She hears us. She understands." "No way," said the technician, pale. "She's been mute since arrival. And now she speaks your name?" "She didn't speak it, she breathed it," Ian replied, "like a whisper inside our minds." Later that night, Ian couldn't sleep. He returned to lab room 4 alone. The hallway was quiet, almost too quiet. The cameras were still glitching. The air felt heavier near her chamber. He stood outside her cell and watched. She was lying down, again eyes closed. But then something strange happened. The surface of her skin rippled, not like normal breathing or muscle movement, but like waves under a pond. Ian moved closer to the glass. The ripples spread across her arms and chest as if something beneath her skin was moving on its own. "What are you?" he whispered. Suddenly, the monitor beeped loudly. "Alert. Unknown activity." Detected Ian's eyes widened. He tapped on the control panel. The thermal scanner showed a strange heat pattern, not just one heart, but 2 separate pulsing sources inside her chest. And they were moving. "It's like her body is changing inside," he muttered. The veins on her arms began to glow softly, blue and gold light flowing like liquid. Ian activated the zoom cam. That's when he saw it. Tiny, tentacle-like strands moving just under the surface of her skin. They didn't look like veins. They were flexible, alive, and flowing on their own. They wrapped around bones and organs like protectors. Suddenly, one of the strands stopped moving. It pressed against the skin on her wrist, right where Ian had touched her before. Tap, tap, tap. It started tapping from inside, slow, soft, like it was knocking. Ian stepped back. "Her body. It remembers," he said, stunned. "It reacts to human contact." Without warning, her eyes opened. The glowing in her veins disappeared. The tentacles stopped. Everything went still. She looked at Ian through the glass, her expression unreadable. Not angry, not scared, just curious. "I don't want to hurt you," Ian said softly. "But I need to understand." She tilted her head slightly. Then, slowly, she raised her hand and pressed it to the glass. A faint blue glow formed around her fingers. Ian hesitated and placed his hand on the same spot, on his side of the glass. The glow spread and pulsed between the 2 palms, as if a silent message was being sent. In that moment, Ian saw something in his mind. Not a voice, not words, but a memory. Flashes of her past. A world with 3 moons. A massive white ship in flames. Soldiers in black armor chasing her people. A scream. Then silence. Ian staggered back. He had seen her past. Telepathic projection, or bioneural link. He asked aloud. "How did she do that?" "Just..." Then Nurse Lila entered. "Doctor, there's a problem." Ian followed her to the infirmary where another test subject, a prisoner who had been injected with a sample of the alien girl's blood, was on the floor, shaking. "What happened?" Ian demanded. "He was injected just 30 minutes ago. Low dose. But then he collapsed. Look at this." They rolled up the man's sleeve. His veins were glowing faintly, just like the girl's. "He's changing," Ian said, horrified. "Her blood, it's rewriting his cells." "Is it a virus?" "No," Ian whispered. "It's not attacking. It's upgrading. Her biology is trying to take control, like a system installing itself inside a new machine." The guards rushed in. "Command wants answers. They want the girl moved to high-security containment. They think she's too dangerous." "She's not dangerous," Ian snapped. "She's trying to adapt. She's defending herself." "Not our call," the guard said. "Orders are orders." Back in her chamber, the girl sat up again. This time she stood. For the first time, she took a step toward the glass. Not slow or weak like before. She walked normally, strongly. Ian stared. The girl wasn't just healing, she was transforming. And the more time she spent on Earth, the faster it was happening. The autopsy that never happened. The next morning, Lab Room 5 was sealed. Red lights blinked above the door. Only top-level researchers were allowed inside. A new body had been brought in, cold, lifeless, and strange. Dr. Ian arrived with a knot in his chest. He already knew. The body wasn't human. It looked just like her. "She's not the only one," he whispered, staring at the still form on the steel table. The body was the same height and size as the alien girl in the next chamber. Same glowing skin, same translucent hair. But there was no light in the eyes, no movement, no life. This one hadn't survived the crash. Dr. Helen, the head xenopathologist, was already preparing for dissection. "We'll learn more from this one," she said coldly. "No need to worry about damaging living tissue." Ian didn't agree, but he stayed quiet. He needed answers too. Still, something inside him twisted. The girl was alive. This one was not, but they were connected. The cutting tools activated. Helen made the first incision. That's when they saw it. Under the skin was not muscle. Not in the way humans had it. It was armor. Living armor. Thin, silver-like plates, soft when untouched, but instantly hardening when the scalpel came near. "What is this?" Helen asked, shocked. "Some kind of biological defense?" Ian leaned closer. "It's growing from the bones. It's not just for protection, it's part of her." The tools couldn't cut it. The material resisted everything. They tried lasers, microsaws, even freezing, but nothing worked. The armor adapted too fast. Meanwhile, in her own chamber, the alien girl sat quietly. Her eyes were closed. But her body was shaking slightly, as if she could feel what was happening in the next room. Suddenly, alarms blared in room 5. "Power fluctuation," a lab assistant shouted. "All systems dropping." Lights flickered. The body on the table, dead just moments ago, began to glow. "What's happening?" Helen screamed. The glow spread across the corpse's veins. The heart did not beat, but the armor plates began to shift. They moved slightly like they were alive. "Back away," Ian warned. The dead alien's body jerked once, then went still again. But everyone had seen it. Something inside it had responded to the lab's equipment, or maybe to the girl. Ian rushed to the observation room. He checked the camera feed from the girl's chamber. She was standing. Both hands were pressed against the wall. Her glowing veins were brighter than ever. Her eyes were filled with silent pain. "She knows," Ian whispered. "She felt what we did to her kind." That night, Ian returned to the chamber. No guards, no assistants, just him and her. He placed a hand on the glass. "I saw her body. We tried to cut it open. We didn't. No, she was like you." The girl stepped closer. Suddenly, the lights around the glass dimmed and her hand moved. The glass between them became warm. Ian felt something tug at his mind again. Like last time. Another memory. A deep, black space. Explosions. Screams. A giant metal cage. Her people trapped. Experimented on. Cut open. One by one. Ian gasped and stepped back. She's not just an alien. She's a survivor. The next morning, the autopsy room was found completely offline. The cameras had burned out. Equipment was melted. The alien corpse? Gone. "What do you mean it's gone?" the director shouted. Ian didn't answer. He had already checked the logs. The girl had left her room during the night. Even with chains and security, she had gotten out. No alarms had gone off. No guards had seen her, but she had returned before sunrise, back in the same spot, sitting calmly. The corpse was never found again. The only clue was a small puddle of silver-blue liquid on the chamber floor. When tested, it was alive, and it matched her blood. Ian stood in front of her that evening. You went to her, didn't you? He whispered. You felt her suffering. The girl didn't speak, but her eyes softened. For the first time, she looked sad. Not angry, not scared, just heartbroken. Her blood was not blood. Dr. Ian sat at his desk, staring at the blood sample under the microscope. He had taken it from the silver-blue puddle found after the corpse disappeared, but what he saw now made his hands shake. It's moving, he whispered. Her blood is alive. He zoomed in again. The blood wasn't like any human blood. It didn't just carry oxygen. It was filled with tiny worm-like creatures, living particles. They swam through the liquid like they had minds of their own. And when exposed to human cells, they didn't destroy them. They merged. Ian showed the footage to Nurse Lila. Her blood. It's like a network, Ian explained. A hive of tiny life forms living inside her. They're not viruses. They're protectors. That's why the prisoner changed after injection, Lila said, remembering the man whose veins had started glowing. Her blood took over. Ian nodded. It doesn't attack. It takes control and reshapes. Just then, an alert sounded. Containment. Breach, Sector 3. Ian and Lila ran to the hallway. 2 guards were down. Not dead, just unconscious. They had black marks on their faces, like burned scars, but smooth. She was here. One of them groaned. She touched my face. I passed. Out. The team rushed to the girl's chamber, but she was inside again, sitting calmly, her hands folded. Her glowing eyes stared into nothing. How is she getting out? The director demanded. She's locked, tracked, watched. But Ian already knew. Her body wasn't breaking the rules. It was bending them. That night, Ian entered her chamber alone. He had removed her chains earlier. She didn't resist. She looked at him now, silent as always. I need to understand, he said. Please show me. He held up a tablet. On it was a scan of her blood. Ian pressed her fingertip lightly to the screen. Suddenly, her veins lit up. The tablet sparked and died. A soft hiss escaped her lips. Not in anger, but in effort. Her body had released energy. Ian took a deep breath. Do you have control? Of your blood? Of them? The girl raised her hand and pointed to her chest. Then she opened her palm. From her skin, a single drop of black liquid formed. It floated into the air, hovering like a small ball. It didn't fall. It floated, alive. The drop changed shape. First into a circle, then a cube, then a small tree. All in seconds. Ian stared. It responds to thought. She nodded once. It's your armor? The drop hardened and fell with a clang onto the floor. It was solid now, like metal. The next moment it melted back into liquid and slid under her skin. Ian stepped back. You're not just a life form. You're a system. She looked into his eyes, then finally she spoke. One word. Weapon. Ian froze. No. You're not, he said quickly. You were made into one. But that's not who you are. The girl blinked. Her body glowed faintly. The lights above flickered. Ian had an idea. He brought a small cut on his arm close to her. Show me what happens, he said. Can you help? She gently touched his wound. Her finger glowed. Ian gasped as the cut closed in seconds. No pain, no scar, but his veins shimmered, just for a second. Then it faded. Your blood heals, Ian said, amazed. It adapts, repairs. Then he frowned. But if your body can do this, why are you here? Why did your pod crash? She looked at him, and then through his mind, she showed him. The vision was strong this time. Huge labs, her people in chains, humans in white coats, cutting, testing, taking, samples, soldiers watching. She escaped in a pod, alone, injured, hunted. She was not the first. She was the last. Ian stepped away. tears forming in his eyes. We did this. But the girl looked calm. She walked toward him and gently touched his chest. You, different, she said. It was not perfect English, but it was enough. Suddenly, alarms sounded again. The director's voice echoed through the speakers. Prepare her for transfer to BioVault 9. Full lockdown. No more studies. She's classified as a threat. Ian looked at her in horror. They're going to move you. She stepped back. Her eyes dimmed. Her body began to change, her skin pulsing with black lines, her arms forming faint armor patterns. But she did not attack. She waited for Ian's choice. They tried to contain her. The transport ship landed on top of the lab building with a loud mechanical thud. Soldiers in black armor stepped out, their faces hidden behind helmets. They carried energy weapons and moved like machines. Dr. Ian stood at the entrance, blocking their path. She's not dangerous, he said firmly. She hasn't harmed anyone. The lead soldier didn't speak. He handed Ian a digital order from High Command. Subject 7A is to be moved to BioVault 9 immediately. Hostile threat. Full containment required. Ian's heart sank. Inside the lab, the alien girl sat calmly in the center of her room. But she already knew something was happening. Her glowing eyes flicked to the ceiling. Her veins pulsed faster. Lila, the nurse, stood beside Ian. They'll kill her there, she whispered. Or worse, cut her up for experiments. Ian knew she was right. BioVault 9 was a military facility, not a science lab. No kindness existed there. We have to stop this, Ian said, but it was too late. 4 soldiers entered the girl's chamber. Her hands were not bound this time, but they approached her slowly, carefully. One of them stepped forward with a metal collar. Don't touch her, Ian warned through the speaker. They didn't listen. As the collar touched her neck, her eyes flared with bright white light. Her body glowed, and the walls began to vibrate. The air around her became hot. The metal instruments started melting. Sparks flew. Back off, Ian shouted. But the soldiers didn't move fast enough. A blast of invisible force knocked them backward. Not with violence, but with power. Their weapons short-circuited. Their visors cracked. Still, the girl did not run. She stood tall, calm, her body now half covered in a dark armor that looked like living metal. She walked toward the door, but not to escape. She walked to Ian. The door opened for her like it recognized her presence. Ian stood still. His eyes were wide. He didn't feel fear. He felt awe. You're not trying to hurt us, he said. You're showing us what you are. The soldiers recovered and raised their guns. Ian stepped between them and the girl. Don't, he warned. She's not the enemy. She's not human. One soldier snapped. No, Ian said. She's more than human. The director's voice came through the intercom. Dr. Ian Cole, stand down or you'll be removed from the project. Ian didn't move. She's not your project anymore. Suddenly, the girl raised her hand, but instead of attacking, she released something small and soft, a ball of glowing blue light. It floated in the air between her and the soldiers. The room became quiet. The ball of light hovered gently, then slowly faded. The soldiers looked confused. Ian smiled slightly. She's trying to speak in her own way. She doesn't want war. She wants understanding. The director gave the final order. Override her chamber. Lock down all systems. Knock her out if needed. Loud alarms blared. Gas started to fill the room. The girl's eyes narrowed. Her body shifted again. Her skin hardened into full armor. Her back lit up with patterns like circuitry. She inhaled the gas and nothing happened. The systems failed. The gas control panel exploded. She raised her arms, but this time she created a wall of energy. Not to attack, but to protect Ian and Lila. I told you, Ian said to the control room. She adapts. She protects. She's not the weapon you think she is. But she will become one if you keep pushing. Inside the chamber, all weapons stopped working. The lights died completely. Only the glow of her body remained. Then she spoke again. A little clearer this time. "I am not your test," and she sat down. The soldiers didn't approach again. They couldn't. They had seen enough. Ian walked into her room. He sat down next to her. "Thank you for not hurting them." The girl looked at him. Then, for the first time, she smiled. Just a little. Her body softened again. The armor faded. She trusted him. Ian looked into her glowing eyes and whispered, "You don't belong in a cage." She replied, slowly, carefully. Then, "Help me." The transformation begins, the research. Lab was quiet for once, no alarms, no gunfire, no shouting. But everyone could feel it, the pressure in the air like something powerful was building up. The alien girl sat on the floor of her chamber. Her eyes were closed, her breathing slow and steady. The glowing lines on her skin dimmed, and then lit up again. This time the patterns were new, like symbols. Moving, shifting symbols. Dr. Ian stood outside her room, watching with both fear and wonder. Lila joined him. "She hasn't eaten or moved in hours," she said. "Is she resting?" Ian shook his head. "No, she's changing." Back in the control room, the technicians tried to scan her again, but the machines failed. One by one, they shut down. Power levels dropped when aimed at her. She was absorbing something. Maybe energy. Maybe knowledge. Suddenly, her eyes opened. They were no longer just glowing. They were shining. Pure white light with tiny stars moving inside them like galaxies. "She's not the same," Lila whispered. Then the girl stood. Her body was no longer just flesh or armor. Her skin shimmered like glass and metal. She floated 1 inch above the floor. Her feet didn't touch the ground. Ian stepped into the chamber. The doors opened without code. No security. No key. Just her presence. She looked at him. "I remember," she said in a calm voice. Her English was better now. "What do you remember?" Ian asked gently. The girl looked up. "My home, my sky, my name." Ian's breath caught. "What is your name?" She stepped closer. Her fingers reached for his forehead. With a soft touch, she shared her memory. Ian saw a vast world of floating islands and silver trees, creatures that sang without mouths, cities made of light. A peaceful race. Until the black ships came, the humans, the collectors, the hunters. "I was taken," she whispered. "Changed. Rebuilt. For war." Ian's heart broke. "They turned you into a weapon." The girl nodded. "But I chose not to be one." Suddenly her body glowed bright. The entire chamber lit up. The walls shook. Her form lifted higher into the air. Lila screamed, "She's overheating. We need to shut it down." "No!" Ian stopped her. "She's not destroying. She's evolving." The glass cracked as light poured from her body. Patterns danced across the walls. Her voice echoed, 2 voices at once. One hers, and one, older, deeper. "I am the last of my kind, but I carry all their memories, all their knowledge." Her skin began to shift. Not painfully, beautifully. She grew wings, not feathers, not metal, but something in between. A living cloak of energy flowed behind her. Her arms stretched slightly. Her face remained soft but powerful. Ian stepped forward, tears in his eyes. "You're becoming something new." The girl looked down at herself. "I was made in pain, but I choose to live in peace." At that moment, the walls of the lab opened. Not from power, but from her. She walked through the halls, guards frozen in place. Not by force, but by awe. Every camera failed, every weapon dropped. She passed by silently. Outside the base, the sky turned red. Ships were coming. Not human, alien. Others like her. Ian ran to the rooftop. The girl floated beside him, now taller, glowing with strength. "Your people are coming?" he asked. She looked at the sky. "No," she said. "They are not mine. They followed my signal." Ian looked through the binoculars. The ships were not peaceful. They were heavy, armored, sharp. "They think I'm still a weapon," she said quietly. Ian understood. "You're the key. They want to control you again." She nodded, and then she whispered, "Then they must see what I've become." Her body lifted higher into the sky. A wave of blue light spread across the clouds. It didn't burn. It didn't kill. But it sent a message across space. She was not property. She was not a machine. She was alive. The incoming ships slowed, hesitated. Some turned around, some didn't. Ian stood below, his eyes filled with tears. "She's not one of them anymore," he whispered. "She's something greater." And for the first time since her arrival, the girl looked free. The last test of humanity. The sky above the earth turned dark as the alien ships floated in orbit. Massive, silent, watching. The world below held its breath. Every government, every army, every lab had eyes on one girl. The alien girl, now fully transformed, stood on the rooftop of the research facility. Her body shimmered with power, yet her face showed no anger, only peace. Around her the air was calm, still. Dr. Ian stood beside her, shaking. "They're waiting for your decision," he said. "What will you do?" She looked at the stars. Her eyes reflected the ships above like tiny mirrors. "I don't want war," she said. "But if they force me, I will protect." Inside the base, the military generals were panicking. "She's a threat," one shouted. "Take her out before she calls more." "She hasn't hurt anyone," Ian argued over the comms. "She saved us. She had the power to destroy this entire facility, but she didn't. She's controlling machines, systems, even minds. That's a weapon." "No," Ian replied. "That's evolution." Suddenly, one of the alien ships sent a signal. A dark beam shot toward the Earth. It wasn't an attack. It was a test. The beam aimed directly at her. She didn't run. She floated, upward toward the energy. Her wings of light spread wide. The beam touched her body and bent around her like water flowing over stone. Everyone watching gasped. She absorbed it. Then calmly she sent back a wave, not to destroy, but to speak. A voice echoed from her body across all frequencies. "I am not your weapon, I am not your enemy, but I will not kneel." The alien ships paused. Some began to power up weapons. Earth's military locked missiles on all targets. Ian screamed, "Stop! She's giving them a choice." The girl rose higher, glowing like a star. Below her on the ground, people began to gather. Scientists, guards, even civilians who had heard the story. They came not to fight, but to witness. Children held signs. Reporters filmed live. The world watched. And then she descended. Not with force, but with trust. She walked into the crowd and held out her hand. A small human girl stepped forward. The alien girl knelt down and placed something in the child's palm. A glowing blue seed. Ian's voice cracked as he whispered, "She's giving us a future." Suddenly, one alien ship fired again. A red beam shot toward the crowd, but the girl moved faster than light. She raised her arm, and a shield of living energy wrapped around everyone. The beam hit and vanished like dust in the wind. That was her final warning. The attacking ship exploded from inside, not by her choice, but by the others. The remaining ships turned and fled. They had seen enough. They feared what she had become, not because she was dangerous, but because she had chosen not to be. Weeks passed. The girl lived in peace, hidden from the world but watched from afar. Nations came to ask questions, but she gave no answers. She only said, "Choose who you want to be. I have already chosen." Dr. Ian stayed by her side. He wrote books. He told the world the truth. She could have destroyed us. But instead, she gave us a seed. A new plant was growing in the earth's soil, one that had never existed before. It cleaned the air. It healed the ground. It fed the hungry. Her gift, her apology, her hope. 1 year later, a child ran through a glowing forest of silver-blue trees. She called out, "Mama!" The alien girl, now known by her name, Elia, turned and smiled. She was no longer a prisoner, no longer a project. She was a mother, a protector, a bridge between two worlds. And the final proof that what makes us dangerous is not our power but our choices.